Think your footballers, basketball players, and Formula One drivers are rich? Please.
In my time, one single charioteer earned so much money that he could have bought your entire Premier League NBA and every Formula team, and still had enough left over to equip 2 full Roman legions. Welcome to the Circus Maximus, where 40 horses, 4 chariots, and 1 man could make you richer than any king on earth. His name was Gaius Appuleius, and he is, to this day, the highest paid athlete in the entire history of humanity. Let's go back to the year 122 AD. Rome is at the absolute peak of its power. The Colosseum is already ancient history. The Pantheon stands shining, and every weekend, 250,000 screaming Romans pack into the greatest stadium the world has ever seen. The Circus Maximus. 4 factions, 4 colors, 4 religions: red, white, blue, green. People were born into a color the same way people today are born into Manchester United or Real Madrid. Families fought, marriages broke, even riots started because of these colors. The factions weren't just teams, they were identity. They were life. And into this madness steps a young man from Lusitania, modern-day Portugal, named Diocles. He wasn't born rich. He wasn't even born free, most likely. But he had one gift that no amount of money could buy: ice in his veins and lightning in his hands. For 24 straight years, he climbed into a chariot pulled by 4 wild stallions. No seatbelt, no helmet, no mercy. The average charioteer career lasted 5 races before a crash killed you or crippled you for life. Diocles did 4,257 starts. He won 1,462 of them. That's not just winning. That's dominance on a level that would make Messi and Ronaldo look like weekend warriors. But here's what made him a god among men. He didn't just race fast, he raced smart. Diocles was the ultimate come-from-behind master. While the hot-headed young drivers sprinted from the start and burned out their horses, Diocles would deliberately hang back in 3rd or 4th place. He waited, he watched, he let the others crash into each other, and they always did. Then, in the final 2 laps, he would unleash his horses like Jupiter throwing thunderbolts. The crowd went insane every single time. The Romans called it genius. The bookies called it expensive. Because every time Diocles won, the payouts were astronomical. A single victory in the biggest races could earn him 50,000, 60,000, even 100,000 sesterces in one afternoon. To put that in perspective, a Roman legionary earned about 2,100 sesterces a year. A skilled craftsman, maybe 2,000. Diocles sometimes made in one race what a normal family earned in 50 years. By the time he retired, at the age of 42, he had accumulated exactly 35,863,120 sesterces. Modern historians have done the math, adjusting for purchasing power, cost of living, and economic scale. The number they arrive at is staggering, roughly $15 billion in today's money. $15 billion. Cristiano Ronaldo's lifetime earnings? Around $1 billion. Lionel Messi? Similar. LeBron James? Less than that. Diocles made 15 times more than any modern athlete, adjusted for inflation. And he didn't even have Nike, Adidas, Gatorade, or Netflix deals. Or did he? The factions were the original super brands. The Reds, Blues, Greens, and Whites had sponsorship money flowing like the Tiber. They paid drivers massive retainers, gave them the best horses money could buy, built them villas, threw them victory parades through the streets of Rome. When Diocles switched from the Reds to the Greens later in his career, it was bigger news than any modern player transfer. Statues of him were everywhere. Poems were written about him. Women threw themselves at him. Children named after him. He was the first true global sports superstar the world had ever seen. So how is this possible? Why was Rome willing to pay one man more money than entire provinces produced? Because entertainment has always been the most valuable product humanity ever invented. Think about it. In a world without Netflix, without football on TV, Without video games, the Circus Maximus was the only show in town. 250,000 people, that's more than most modern stadiums, screaming, betting, crying, fighting, living and dying with every lap. The emperors knew this. They poured money into the games not because they loved horses, but because bread and circuses kept the masses from revolting. Give people something to cheer for, something tribal, something that makes them forget their miserable lives for a few hours. And they will love you? Sound familiar? Today, we call it the attention economy. Society is willing to pay insane amounts of money to the people who can capture and hold the attention of millions. Why? Because attention is the new oil. Whoever controls attention controls culture, politics, trends, desires, and ultimately, money. That's why a 22-year-old kid who can kick a ball gets paid $500 million over 5 years, while the teacher who actually raises the next generation struggles to pay rent. The engineer who keeps planes from falling out of the sky makes a fraction of what a TikTok star earns for dancing. It feels unfair. It feels broken. But it's not new. It's exactly how Rome worked 1900 years ago. The very best entertainers have always been ridiculously overpaid because their talent is extremely rare and their audience is extremely large. There are millions of good teachers. There are only a handful of Diocles-level athletes in any generation, and the crowd will always pay more for escapism than for education. That's human nature. We haven't changed. We just swapped chariots for football pitches and Colosseum sand for green grass. Now let's talk about the sponsorship machine, because that's where the real money was then and is now. In Rome, the factions didn't just sponsor the driver. They sponsored the entire spectacle. They owned the horses, the stables, the trainers, the doctors. They had betting syndicates that made modern sports betting look cute. Rich senators and businessmen poured money into their favorite color, the same way billionaires today buy stakes in football clubs. Diocles himself became an investor. He owned stud farms. He lent money. He bought property. By the end of his career, he wasn't just an athlete. He was a one-man entertainment corporation, exactly like today's stars who have their own clothing lines, energy drinks, NFT collections, and private jets. The game never changed, only the uniform. Caesar Hook. Your footballers think they are rich? Gaius Appuleius Diocles, a chariot racer, earned enough money to buy your entire sports league and still have enough left over for a couple of legions. At least he risked his life every single Sunday. Your boys risk a pulled hamstring and a bad Instagram comment. Diocles eventually retired at 42. He lived quietly in a villa outside the city, far from the roar of the crowd. He never raced again. He didn't need to. He had already won the biggest prize of all, immortality through money and memory. The Romans kept his records for centuries. They carved his stats into stone the same way we put players in the Hall of Fame. And when the empire finally fell, his story almost disappeared, until archaeologists dug up the inscriptions and the financial records. He remains, to this day, the richest athlete who ever lived. So what's the lesson for our time? First, understand the game. Entertainment is a business built on human psychology. We pay the most to the people who make us feel something. Excitement, tribal pride, escapism, hope. Second, if you're good at capturing attention, the market will reward you disproportionately. That's not fair. That's economics. Third, don't hate the player. Understand the system. The same forces that made Diocles obscenely rich are making today's stars obscenely rich. The crowd always pays. And finally, maybe, just maybe, we should value the teachers and engineers a little more, because without them, there is no empire left to entertain. The comment section below is our modern Circus Maximus. Carve your opinion right now. Who is the most overpaid athlete alive today? Would you rather be Diocles in 140 AD or Ronaldo in 2000? Or are you team teachers should earn more than strikers? I'll pin the smartest, funniest, and most savage answers to the very top And if you want to know how the richest man in Rome handled a terrifying housing crisis and predatory landlords, a problem that feels shockingly modern, click the video that just appeared on your screen right now. See you in the empire.